Okay.
Hi, welcome Sinead Fine to Your Psychic Girlfriend. How are you? Tell me about you. I found you on Facebook and mostly through B School that we both took. And Tarot for Women just really spoke to me. So I'd love to hear more about what you do and let our listeners get introduced to you and your fine work. No pun intended. Maybe the pun was intended. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a fine day. Wow, I don't know. Do I start way back in childhood? I don't know. I'm an Irish person, so I like to talk. But what I do now is I have an online website called Tarot for Women. I teach women all around the world how to read the cards, but really how to read the cards using their empathy and their heart and their intuition, and not so much focusing on like what the cards mean and the facts. I go into all of that, but I feel that that's a lot of head energy. And I feel that when we read the cards, the head has to be put aside a lot of the time. It can really complicate things.
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
guess I really help women, first of all, find their intuition, work out when it pops up, because it's not all the time. It's like a wave. And to tune into it, to understand it, to follow it, to trust it, which is a big thing. And then to start using the cards as like a signpost and a guide, and to do it with in a place of no pressure. Because I think I see a lot in the online world where people feel women feel they have to do it right, they have to do it correctly, they have to get it perfect, they can't start until they know all the meanings. And when I tell the story of how I started tarot, it really gives women a lot of confidence, because they go, wow, well, if you can do it, then I can do it. So I'll tell you how I started. I've always been psychic. I've always been intuitive. I've been one of those kids. It was a little bit different. Had the imaginary friends, felt the ghosts in the room, didn't understand what was going on. You know, the angsty teenager that wrote love poetry, blah blah blah. and then when I was like a teenager, my auntie and my grandmother were teaching me about tea leaf reading, so I got into that. Drank too much tea, had insomnia. And then I discovered I was in Holland for summer, working. A lot of Irish people go there in the summer and they work. And I had a day off from work, and I was in Harlem, and I was walking down the street, and my intuition speaks to me like a very direct, clear voice, and it said, "Go, walk down the street, turn right, and go into that shop." So I went in, and the first thing I saw was a tarot deck on the shelf, and the voice said, "Pick up that deck and buy it now." And the exact same money that the deck cost was in my wallet. And I bought the deck. And I'd heard about tarot, but I didn't know much about it. So I brought it back to the campsite where I was staying, and I opened the box, and there was a book. So it tells you to do this and to do this and to do the spread like this. And I did it, and I was terrible at it. Because I had an intuition and I had a lot of psychic ability, but I was following the book and I was doing what I was told. And I'd have friends that would come, and I didn't charge money. I said, okay, you can bring me a pint of milk, bring me a loaf of bread, bring me a packet of cigarettes, because I used to smoke long ago. And okay, I'm going to do the spread, and this card goes here, and this card goes here. And they just, like, their eyes would twist. They wouldn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know what I was talking about either. This card means, it's like you're explaining something from a book. It makes no sense. So after a few months, I decided this is too difficult. I don't understand how people can do this tarot stuff, and I put it away. And then a year later, I was in a body, mind, spirit show, and I met this guy who was teaching, magic and ritual and tarot and divining. And he said, I'll teach you tarot. I says, great. So I started going to him, but every time I went to him, he never talked about the tarot or the cards. He talked about my intuition. When do I feel it? Do I feel it before my period, during my period, after my period? He said it's a lot to do with hormones. It's a lot to do with feelings. And I bring my tarot deck every time thinking, when is he going to talk about the cards? I want to learn about them. And then he said to me, that show that you met me at? Well, I'm doing another one. Would you like to come and help me out? And bring your tarot cards, and sure, we'll have a play if it's quiet. So I rock up on the morning, I think it was a Thursday or Friday morning, it was a Friday morning. I rocked up really eager, thinking, oh, I'm going to help him with this body, mind, spirit show. And there was a sign that said tower readings £5. This is in Ireland. And I thought, okay, oh, he's going to do tower readings. So I said, Joe, great, you're going to do tower readings. And he said, no, you are.
Oh my gosh.
I went, what? I freaked out. I was like, you can't expect me. I don't know the cards. I don't know the difference between, you know, the major, the minor, the court cards, the elements. I knew nothing. And he said, it's the best way to learn. So I ran to the toilet. Obviously, you know, I felt like I was going to vomit. I was terrified. I was shaking. And then I looked in the mirror and I thought, I've got a choice. I can freak out and go home, or I can try. And the worst thing is I look like an idiot.
Right? That's the worst thing.
Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to do it. So I went back in. I said, I'm going to do it till lunchtime, and then I'm going to kill you. So I
take a break,
down.
then I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. And everybody else in this body, mind, spirit show was charging £15, £20. So of course, everybody wanted to come to the cheaper reader.
Right.
So I had this long queue before. By the time lunch came, he said, you can't go now. You've got all this queue. And the thing is that when I sat down that morning, the very first person that came to me for a tarot reading was another professional tarot reader at another stand.
Oh my goodness.
Who was really famous.
Oh
and
my gosh.
He was handy. He was very cute. But he sat down in front of me. He had these like psychic, deep blue eyes. And he said, you know, read my cards. And I immediately started apologizing. I said, listen, did you pay yet? You don't have to pay. I've never done this before. I'm really nervous. I don't think I can do this. And I was apologizing. He said, hey, it's okay. You can lose your virginity with me. It was the way he said it. I was like, what?
You're like, oh, okay.
I was beyond freaked out. I was way outside my comfort zone. And so he started talking and I started laying the cards out. I didn't know what they meant. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to describe what I see in the cards. And the minute I started doing it, my psychic ability and my intuition turned on. And the fear started evaporating. And I went, oh my God, I'm doing it. And so I had person after person come that day. And it was 3 days from like 9 in the morning till 7 at night. I was completely burned out by the end of it because I didn't know anything at that stage. I was like in my early 20s. I knew nothing about boundaries, psychic protection, grounding, being in your body, centering. I knew none of that. I remember my friend came to see me on the second day and I was floating off into space, which was really great for the people coming because I was just channeling big time. And he said to me, you're really out of your body. And he brought me outside and he got me to put some earth in my shoes. He said, that would ground you. It didn't work. But it was learning. It was like, you know, being pushed into the water and trying to learn how to swim.
Right.
But what I realized was if you put your head aside and trying to get it right and trying to know the facts and just listening to your heart, opening your heart, telling yourself it's okay to be wrong, it's okay to make mistakes. And then usually you're not wrong and you don't make mistakes because your heart's open, you're describing the pictures. And, you know, when I have students say, but how do you know that they're going to pick the right cards? And I said, I trust every time that they will pick the right cards. I have to trust that. Because if I start fearing, what if they don't pick the right cards? What if I don't create the right space? Again, the fear blocks the intuition.
Yes. Do you ever like put down cards and then be like, oh, this is so not right, and then just reshuffle?
It's funny, that happened to me today. I was at the beach with 3 friends. We decided we'd have a girly day out. And I always bring my cards and they always get really excited. And I pulled the cards out and my friend was shuffling and she was talking about life and she was looking at, you know, the guys on the beach and she was shuffling and she was sipping her coffee. And I looked at her and I thought, she's not concentrating. And when she pulled the cards out, I looked at them and I went, eh. I just like, what's that? That's nothing. That's a reflection of what she's doing.
The confusion.
So I said, so I said, put the cards back in, close your eyes, put the deck on your heart, and ask about what you want to know. So she did, and then she pulled the cards again, and they were spot on.
Right.
So I think there's only a few times in my life where I actually did not have a clue what was going on. And it was just either I was just not in the right space and I shouldn't have done the reading. And I learned from that. So when I'm very, very tired or I've had a really full-on day, I know I'm not in a good space. I'm not, relaxed enough or heart's open enough. And so I know that that's not a good time. So it has happened a few times. Nearly always it's the person talking in their head and not really grounding and being in the body and tuning in. And then once I get them to do that, then the cards are usually correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So how did you get started working with women? Because your Tarot for Women site, by the way, if people go there, it's a beautiful site. And I actually signed up for your e-course and your priestess meditation. So I'm like really looking forward to seeing what you do and incorporating it into my own life and work. So I think people would really benefit from coming to your site. So tell me a little bit how you decided to work with women. How did that come about? And
so that is another story. I'm Irish. I always have stories attached to every answer. I've read tarot professionally since 1997. That event in the Body, Mind, Spirit show was in 1997. And since then, since that day, I've read professionally, I've charged money. Like, it's not usually the typical way for people to go about it, but that's the way it happened with me. And I had, strangely enough, I had as many men coming to me as women, because I'm a very practical tarot reader and I'm very focused and I'm not so woo-woo. It's like, if you come to me with a problem, let's look at it, let's put it on the table, let's see what we can do with it. So I don't tend to mention lucky numbers. It's not my way. Yeah, everybody's got their own style. So I think guys like that a lot, and I had a lot of guys come, and it was as easy for me to read for guys as it was for women. But then my husband, who's Israeli, and I decided as well that we would come to live in Israel to be closer to his family. So I'm Irish, but he's Israeli, and we decided, okay, we'll come and live in Israel to be with Granny and Granddad and the aunties and the cousins. So when I arrived here, I got this sudden realization. I don't know why I didn't get it before. Everybody speaks Hebrew. And if I'm going to do tarot readings, I can speak English, but they might not really get it because it's their second language. And I was like, wow. So I ended up going and working in a kindergarten to try and pick up the Hebrew. And, it was great. I love kids, but I felt like this is not my path. And then I heard about this thing which says that there was a small government thing that helps with startups and small businesses. And it was giving out quite a lot of money for people to start their own online business. And I'd never done online before. It'd always been word of mouth or Body, Mind, Spirit shows. And I went, I wonder, I'm not sure. And, I rang up the woman and I says, well, I'm a qualified naturopath, qualified this, qualified that. I didn't mention the tarot. And she says, okay, come to the office and we'll talk about it. And something was nagging me inside. It's like, but that's not what your passion is.
Right.
So I put my tarot deck in the bag and I went to the interview. And she said, so you want to do an online business around like your natural therapies? And I went, no. I want to do it on tarot. And she went, what? And her eyes did like a roll, like physically did a roll.
Yeah.
What, like the cards? And I went, yes. And I pulled them out of my bag and I said, ask a question. I was like, come on, don't let me down. And I said, ask a question. And she was like, about what? I said, what's one big problem in your life right now? Ask a question about it. And so she did. I read the cards and she sat back and she said, if you can teach people how to do that, I'm giving you the money now. And so I got the money and I got help and these guys built the website and these guys helped me with the social media because I had no clue about technology. I remember the first time I sat down with a social media guy, he said, so how long have you been reading? And I said, since 1997. And he said, okay, so how long is your email list? And I said, what email list? And he said, how many people have you read for? And I said, thousands. so where's the emails? And I went, I never asked for them. And he's like, what?
And they're like,
So I was
oh.
really, like completely new for me to do this online thing. And the reason I did it was because I thought, I can't be in my full power reading in Israel to people whose second language is English.
Mm-hmm.
I can read for them, but I'm not sure I'll get it enough until I get my Hebrew good enough. And so this online thing might work. And so I went online, I told all my old clients, my friends, and I started reading online, which I was against. My whole life was like, I'm never doing that. I'm never doing email readings. That doesn't work. They have to be in the room. And actually, they don't have to be in the room. You can be on video. Email readings are amazing. I do audio recordings now for people, and it works.
Yeah, it sure does.
It's amazing. I had this thing where you've got to be in the room, you've got to feel their energy, you've got to look into their eyes. Yeah, it's amazing. So I was like, wow, I can read for anybody in the world now. And then I was like, I need to teach them as well.
Right.
So to your question about why women, when I was building this thing with this company, the company that gave me the money, they were saying to me, so what's your niche? I says, what's a niche? They says, like, who do you want to target? I had no clue about this marketing language. And I said, you know what? I'm a feminist, and I think every woman should be empowered. So I want to do it just for women. And then, there was a part of me going, oh, you're excluding men. And I thought there's plenty of readers and teachers out there for men. I just want to focus on women. I want every woman that comes to me, I want to help them prime their intuition, because I feel if a woman has her intuition, she's tuned into it, wow, so powerful. And a powerful woman can change the world. And what I mean by powerful, I don't mean power over control. Like a woman that knows exactly what she wants, what she doesn't want, where she wants to go, where she doesn't want to go, what relationship is right for her, what's not. Should she have children? Should she not? Because I saw so many women coming, and I'd read their cards, and then at the end they'd say, well, I knew that already, but I needed to hear it from someone else. And I think part of me was like, I want you to get to the stage where you don't need to hear it from anybody else. So basically to put myself out of business in a way that, you won't need a tar rating anymore, because you'll be so good at it for yourself. That you'll be able to tune in.
It sounds like you're the Irish version of me.
And you probably have some Irish in you if you go back far.
I do. I absolutely do. I did the 23andMe, and I'm like, oh, hey, there we are.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, I agree. Well, there's so many people in the world, and I agree with you on focusing on helping empower women to really trust their intuitions. And through tarot is like such a fine way to do it, because like a lot of people just won't listen to themselves internally.
Yes.
But if they have cards that help them. And so, take me through like how you get people to be more comfortable reading for themselves, because for me, that's the hardest thing. I have a hard time reading for myself. I mean, I trust my intuition and all that, obviously, but when I read for myself, I'm like, oh my God.
No, I used to find it very, very difficult to read for myself as well, because usually when we pull out the cards and we really want an answer, it means we're really emotional and stressed about it. Yep. Usually. It's not like, I'm having a wonderful day, I think I'll pull a card. Like when we really want the answers, it's because we desperately need to know the answer. And I think the desperation creates the block. And so I kind of use this technique where I bring it back down to basics. And I basically, create a space where the phone is off. I'm not going to be distracted. The kids are not going to interrupt me. And I make sure I won't be disturbed. And I do a bit of meditation, a bit of breathing, and I shuffle the cards and I think about whatever's going on. And I don't always have a question. Like if it's like, oh, my head's a mess, whatever. I don't always have a question, but I shuffle the cards and I ask, how many cards should I pull? And a number will come to my head. Could be 1, 2, 3, 5. I don't use a spread when I'm doing this, because a spread I feel gets you too intellectual, learning the meanings of the spread. So I don't do spreads when I'm feeling stuck. And I just pick a number. It could be 2, 3. I don't tend to pick more than 8 or 10. And then I'll lay them out and I'll turn them over. And first of all, I'll just feel what's happening in my heart. And I'll have my journal and I'll write down what I'm feeling. Usually I might have a cry or I might get angry, but I just feel. I don't try and go, well, this is this, this is this means this. I just feel from the pictures. And then I go to each card and I pick it up and I look at it. And I don't know if you ever done where you're gazing into water, or you're gazing into a crystal ball, and you kind of your vision goes a bit hazy. So like it's kind of like if you twist your eyes a little bit, not too much, but you're kind of going out of focus. So I go out of focus and I look at the card, and then usually one thing in that card will jump out. You know, maybe something they're holding, or the expression on their face, or whatever deck I use. And then from that thing that sticks out, I'll write one word. What's the first word that comes to me? So it could be, you know, I see a hand and I write down the word help. And I do that with each card. And then I move the cards away and I just sit and I look at the words. And I don't try and analyze the words even. I just look at the words and I say, well, what do those words mean? If I were going to put them into a sentence, or this was words a friend was telling me, what would they mean? And then it starts to make sense. So it's like I'm bypassing the question and I'm bypassing spreads and trying to get meanings. And I'm just trying to go back into my body, and I'm trying to go back into my heart. And then even with the card, I'm not really, you know, analyzing it. I'm trying to not focus on it too much, but see what jumps out at me, and then find a word for that one thing. And then those words always tend to give me the answer. So I found that's a technique, and it's basically, you know, because I've traveled around the world, and sometimes, you know, like I remember the time I ended up in, where was I, in Bali, and I lost my credit card, and I was freaking out at no money. I was great, I had my tarot cards because I went down to the beach and I started reading tarot, and I got money, but it took time for this credit card to come. So that was one of those times where it was like freaking out. Cards, help me. I had nobody to ring, nobody to tell me what to do. And I can't remember what it was. It was some Pentacles card. It was kind of like just go and make some money.
Yeah.
So, you know, I found over the years it's really helped me. Now, sometimes I do, you know, I've got a really good friend in Ireland. She is amazing. She basically channels. And probably about every 4 years, I'll pick up the phone. Like, we chat all the time. But about every 4 years, I'll pick up the phone and say, listen, can you help me out here? And she'll usually already tell me what I already know, but I just need that outsider to clarify. So I would say 95% of the time I can read cards myself now, but there's still that 5%.
Yeah.
Still.
Well, that was a really, really helpful exercise. I took notes, and I hope our listeners are too, because I'm going to play with that. I think that is just brilliant.
Yeah. And it's simple. It's not complicated. It's very simple. You know, and I do this exercise with students. I had a group last week where I was teaching them. They were like 18 and 19-year-olds, and they asked me to do a workshop for them. And I could see their minds starting to click in. What does it mean? What should I say? What's the right word? And I said, don't analyze it. It's the first word that comes to your mind. And they said, well, what if it's the wrong word? I said, if it's the first word that comes to your mind, it's never the wrong word. It's always the right word. So it's like, it's trying to turn the monkey mind off.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, like you said, especially when there's something that for me, it's always something that I want, the outcome I want. And then I'm like, oh, I should just let it unfold. And, but, you know, when I pull out my cards, I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. So your technique helped me. So I'm going to use that for sure.
Have you found though, like sometimes I hate it, you know, because tarot's honest, where you're having a really crap day and you go, what's going on? And you pull a card and it's the Tower or some card like the Knight of Swords, and you go, oh, I didn't need to get that card. And I put it back in the deck and I go, oh, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that. That one didn't fall out and make it so. No.
Yeah,
whenever that happens, I'm like, oh.
I call that tarot denial.
Yes. I love that. I love that. That is so good. Oh my gosh.
Or I'm having a really crap day and I think I really don't want to get the Tower.
Yep. Is there a specific deck that you like to use?
Well, I started that deck that I bought in Holland, the Mythic Tarot. You know, the one that's based on the Greek and Roman legends, the original version. they did a new version with a new artist.
Is that what
Which
you've been
is not-
posting on Facebook?
not a-
Because they're beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I like them because I love psychology. I love Jungian psychology and archetypes. And I found it because of the Greek mythology and how much Jung talks about archetypes and Greek mythology. It kind of fits in with me. And they're, you know, I've loved them. I've had them for years. And then I went back to the Rider-Waite deck. It's like when I came here, I don't know. I have this really old deck that someone got that she found in her grandmother's attic. I think it's from the 1940s. And I opened it up and it was like, I fell in love with it again. Because there's a part of me like, well, it's too patriarchal and, you know, there's too many men in it. But there's something magical about the Rider-Waite deck because it's simple and yet it's got so much inside it, so many layers like astrology and Kabbalah and colors. And I fell in love with it again. And then last year, I think it was last year, I backed the Lightseers Tarot deck. It was a Kickstarter project. Have you heard about it?
No.
Oh my God, I'm madly in love with it. And it's the Lightseers Tarot deck. And I love it because it's, you know, especially now where we're having all this protests around the world about Black Lives Matter. What I love about this deck is there's people from Africa in it, people from America, people from China, there's gay people, there's transgender, there's everything in it. It's like, it's to me, it's equality, it's life, it's now. And it's colorful and I love it. I'm so madly in love with it. So that's the deck I'm using now. And people
All right, I'm going to have to get that because that sounds like right up my alley right now.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And look, I'm addicted to tarot. So obviously I have many decks, but I do tend to come back to the same ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't read oracle cards as much, but I love collecting them for the art. And I have the Goddess Oracle deck, and that's the deck from back to, no, it'll be 1998, I think I bought it, 1999, the Goddess Oracle deck. And it's beautiful cards, paintings. And I love that deck. And it's the book with the ritual, and I've brought it to so many women.
Oh, right.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have the Isis deck, the Isis Oracle deck that I like.
Ah, wow.
The very Egyptian.
Yeah.
I get it. I prefer to do the tarot decks over the oracle cards as well.
Yeah, I like the structure. I like how there's things embedded inside it, like the astrology. I'm not an astrologist. I know this astrology and how it relates to tarot and the court cards, but I'm not like I couldn't read a chart. Not right. It's on my list. It's on my list to learn.
Me neither. I feel like that's one. It's taken me a long time to even absorb some of it. I'm like, I don't know what it is. My brain just doesn't take it on like I can with other things. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Maybe it's not meant for me, but I still try. I'm still trying.
Yeah.
Well, this has been such a delightful conversation. So is there anything that you want to share with our listeners where they can find you, if you have an offer, anything like that?
So my website's tarotforwomen.com, fairly easy to remember. And I just created a new free e-course with lessons and a lot of the techniques that I talk about, like using your body, your feelings, your emotions, not emotions taking over, but just tuning in. And there's some bonuses and stuff in there, and they can go and sign up for free. I give tarot readings, but I think my main message is to women and men, obviously, if they're listening, we all have an intuition. We were born with it. It was just educated out of us. And in this world, there's no power put on it. It's like something that's weird, off to the side. I think it's becoming more mainstream now, but every single one of us has intuition and every single one of us has psychic abilities. It's not super special. And it's just reminding people. And then once they get to do the techniques, it comes out, it blossoms, and women just start finding synchronicities, and they know, and they don't know how they know, but they know. And that's the beauty. And that's what I love seeing. I love seeing women blossom. I love seeing them get in touch with who they are.
Well, it comes through, and I really appreciate you being my guest today.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
I would love to have you on again.
Great. All right, take care.